Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us to discuss this important topic of standards and interoperability for regulators. My name is Ryan Laruwe. As previously mentioned, I work at the Michigan Public Service Commission as a commissioner advisor, and interoperability, since the day I started working at the commission, has been near and dear to my heart. My first task when I was hired on to the Michigan Public Service Commission was to follow around the Smart Grid Interoperability Panel, the SGIP, as may be more familiar with. So I was hired under an ARA grant to explore the potential of smart grid in Michigan. And as part of that, they thought that plugging me into the smart grid interoperability panel would be a good first step to get my toes into the water. So prior to that day, my understanding of energy was very limited. The word energy brought thoughts of people covered in coal to mind, and that pesky bill that would show up in my mailbox every month that I just dreaded having to pay in college. So the idea of learning a little bit more, I didn't know how much I really wanted to dig into that topic, and it was the recession, so it was a job, so I just went with it. So I ended up following around the SGIP around the entire country and really just kind of seeing all these tech giants starting to come into the energy world. And at that point, I really knew that I was on the cusp of something. There was a big change coming in kind of energy industry, and at that point I kind of went all in, and I decided I just wanted to be part of it. I got to meet some of the biggest people in the industry, from Vint Cerf, the inventor of TCP/IP, and the founder of the internet, and I just kind of knew that there's a lot going on here, and there's going to be a lot of opportunities in the future for me if I was to stay to this idea of revolutionizing the grid and supporting grid modernization. So unfortunately, Michigan wasn't one of the front runners in smart grid, so a lot of the first 5 years of my life consisted of following around states like California and Texas and seeing how they were implementing these standards and how these front runners were messing up, so I could take those best practices and lessons learned back to Michigan and make sure that we didn't put our feet in the same holes that California and Texas did. So fast forward about 5 years, and I'm sitting at the commission, and I finally get to put my SGIP knowledge to use, and I'm ecstatic about it. There's a filing by one of our utilities who has recently finished up a smart grid deployment, and they are looking to implement a ZigBee-based demand response program. It's for interruptible air conditioning during peak hours of the summer and can make a significant impact on the cost of energy at peak hours during the peak demand. So we're sitting there and we're wondering, okay, we've had these interruptible air conditioning programs for nearly 40 years in Michigan, but they've always been radio-based, which means we have 11 towers standing across the service territories of our utilities, widely broadcasting radio signals, and just hoping that these devices on the air conditioners pick up these signals and actually create the command that causes load reduction. It's one-way communicating. There's no way to verify if they've actually done it. And come to find out, it turns out that you could put a coffee can over the receptor, and therefore you could get the rate and never have to interrupt your air conditioning. So that's what we were coming to find out in the regulatory room. And then we got this idea of a ZigBee-based one. ZigBee is part of the communication infrastructure of AMI. It's built into the AMI meter as kind of what you may have heard of as a home area network. It's a communications infrastructure that can essentially communicate into the home, into devices, and bring that information back to the utility to make effective decisions based on what is going on in the field. So we have this proposal in front of us. First of its kind. We can't find a single use case across the country of somebody using ZigBee to do interruptible air conditioning. We're a little bit hesitant in the regulatory kind of discussions of, do we want to make our ratepayers guinea pigs? We're already in a high cost state. It's kind of risky. And is this something that we really want to go down, a path we want to go down? And then I got the pipe up. And I said, I've spent years following this, and I just need to tell you guys something. When it comes to ZigBee, I learned about this thing called the ZigBee Alliance and the SGIP. They will independently certify and verify that these ZigBee products are functional and will perform as we've been told by the utilities. So we go through discussions, and I'm kind of, I want to be innovative, so I'm pushing this agenda, and I really get into the ears of the commissioners and to my directors, and I kind of convince them that yes, this is certified independently. There's a good chance that this is going to work. So fast forward a couple of months in the commission, and we're at the commission order, and I'm anxiously awaiting to see if I was persuasive enough to get this pushed through the commission and get this new program leveraging our AMI infrastructure into working order. So the commission order comes back, agrees with me, and we approve this program. This program allows us to increase our demand response portfolio to over 200 megawatts, nearly we're actually going out and replacing the legacy meters with these brand new meters, so there's no customer sign up, there's nothing. We're just essentially creating a new program that is twice as effective as its predecessor, leveraging brand new technology, getting the most benefit we possibly can out of our newly invested in AMI infrastructure. And today, that continues to be one of the cornerstones of our demand response portfolio in Michigan. It is one of our largest, we are one of the largest residential demand response programs in the entire country. And without me participating in the SGIP and standing up for the certification process and the ZigBee Alliance, there's a good chance that this never got off the ground. So I think that when you look at that from a regulator standpoint, there's huge value in kind of focusing in on these interoperability standards and what's going on around the country, because when it comes to your decision making, there's opportunities to take technology that's unprecedented in the entire industry, apply it, and obtain savings and new programs for customers, and really enhance grid modernization and get us moving towards the new future, which is an interoperable, tech-oriented future electric grid. So that's kind of my case study, and I thank you all for kind of coming and listening to us today, and I look forward to hear from everybody else on the panel.